Every paw has a story, some filled with love, some with pain, but all of them deserve hope. Welcome to Tales of Hope, voices for the voiceless, hope for every paw. Here, we speak for those who can't, and together, we create hope, one paw at a time.
All right. So, listeners, today we have Kapil Patwardhan, who has been involved in dog welfare for almost 9 to 10 years, and he's been in different functions as a rescuer, adopter, and more recently, he has got into educating and doing research. He helps communities and schools and children to understand how we can coexist with this animals or our four-legged voiceless friends. Kapil, it's so good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, Kapil, can we
It's good to
understand?
be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have you also on the podcast. So, Kapil, can we understand or can you share us your journey? How did you get first involved with the animal rescuing and what actually inspired you for this?
I think it's come out as a bit of a chance or coincidence, I would say. Um, I don't th- I don't think anybody plans their career and sets out, okay, I want to do, maybe veterinarians do because they need to do at the start. But I think people who are in welfare work outside veterinary stumble upon it, and I think something similar happened to me. My parents used to volunteer, help organize adoption camps in my locality. And I could see that, they used to go, I used to just visit them while they were volunteering, but I was never actively involved at that time. Soon we had also found a puppy outside home who we ended up fostering and adopting, and then we fostered another one and gave that puppy for adoption only to be returned in a couple of days because the family said their previous existing dog was not getting along. And then the second puppy who basically became like a foster fail as well. So I lived through those experiences of fostering and adopting and rescuing, uh, very briefly, very early on, without really thinking, oh, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. This was way back a decade ago.
Wow.
And then slowly, just being involved how much ever I can. I used to be in Mumbai for 5 years for work. And I used to just there are a lot more cats in Mumbai than dogs.
Yes, I
Uh,
absolutely know that.
Especially, I used to be in Bandra, so there used to be a lot of cats around. So just trying to do as much as I can for the animals in there, until 2018, when I think I just decided to take the plunge and was like, okay, this is something what I would like to do, which felt more fulfilling. My job used to be amazing. I used to love it, but it did not feel like um, I was fulfilling my soul in a way. Now, ever since I've made the switch to being full time into dog welfare, I feel every day I wake up with purpose, and also with a smile on my face, because I know I want to do things, move towards a mission or a vision, or just, you know, uh, just make sure that it just helps me get out of bed and be on my way.
I think we all have those similar journeys. I'm just going to touch back on something that you just mentioned. You know, you had two failed adoptions. How do you see adoptions between breeds and, I'm going to call them indies. I'm not going to call them
Yeah,
strays.
yeah.
Because for us, these are like families, no matter what, whether it's an indie or a breed. So I want to understand, how do you feel people differentiate between when it comes to adopting a breed as compared to our local indies?
I think there's a lot. I think it's a lot more complicated than just gray and white. Gray and white and black. Sorry. Uh, I think there's with breed dogs. I think there is a lot of perception that has been built that these are dogs who can live the pet life. and Indies are the one who live outside on the streets. Um, there are positives and negatives to both. For me personally, my ultimate preference would be that breeds just don't exist, that there are no breeds at all, because they are created by human intervention for specific purposes. And now we see that those purposes are not really required because there's now technology to do the jobs per se that we once needed animals to do maybe hundreds of years ago. Uh, to now have these dogs who live in apartments or homes, it's a mismatch for their environment and their genetics that they were created for, and that's why there's a lot of issues for the dogs as well as the people who adopt the breed dogs. uh, so having that perception that these dogs are cute and loving and for a lot of people, unfortunately, more obedient and disciplined, and they would tolerate more things from humans, like hugging and kissing and all of that. That seen that's seen by people as something which they would like to have in a pet dog. So we are just imposing our demands on dogs more and more. Uh, and the breed dogs tend to tolerate it a lot more, whereas the indies would be like, nah, I did not sign up for this.
But
Yeah.
you, sorry, let me interrupt. I'll tell you what. I have two breeds which I didn't know it all started off, and I have adopted an Indie as well. But I think even she's the same. I mean, she loves being in the house. I mean, okay, whatever we can, but even she loves to be, cuddled up. She sleeps with us in the bed, so it's almost the same thing. I don't see any difference between the breed or the indie. I think they all have the same genetics in terms of when it comes to connecting with their souls, in terms of loving, being affectionate, apart from providing food and shelter and security for them.
Yes, of course. I mean, ultimately, a dog is a social animal. Dog enjoys or finds comfort and safety in having those strong bonds, whether it is other dogs or other humans. But for indies who have uh, lived for thousands of years on their own, their genetics are different than the breed dogs. Uh, what difference that we see in adoptions of indie dogs is that once they turn about 6 months, 7 months, get transitioning from puppy to adolescent stage, um, where they typically move away or wander and explore uh, from their families if they were out on the streets and they can't do that anymore at home. uh, then those issues start propping up because uh, a lot of people they get the dog, but once the dog is at that age, they don't know necessarily how to best help the dog.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we are quite backwards in terms of pet care. Uh, and we hire people who don't necessarily know what's in the best interest of our dogs, whether it is walkers, trainers, whatever it is. Uh, and we feel as guardians that we are doing the right thing. We are doing everything that we can, but still the dog is not able to cope, and that's seen a lot more with indies than breed dogs. I think breed dogs are still more adjusted to a home environment, just from an environment point of view,
Yes.
uh, than the indies. Of course, there are some cases where, as yours, where they are quite fine, but there's so many who are not.
Absolutely. Coming back to the next question, that would be, what are some of the challenging rescues that you've encountered?
Uh, I've had a I remember this was sometime in lockdown. Again, it's very I don't know, it was the first lockdown or second lockdown, but there was a dog who was stabbed, uh,
Wow.
and the dog lived on the street. And this was not a dog that I regularly fed, or I did not know the dog at all. So usually, what my plan of action in such situations is to go there, uh, spot the dog and just wait until more help comes, whether it is an ambulance or catchers, so that we can take the dog, whether to the rescue center or private vet or
But
whatever it is. So I went over there, and after a bit of searching, I could see the dog at a distance. So I was like, okay, great, he's here. I'm just gonna wait here. And I just sat down, just waiting until more people came. And funnily enough, this dog, who I can't imagine how much pain he would be in just being stabbed the night before, uh, wagged his tail and walked up towards me and just stood next to me. And I've had my fair share of bites trying to, rescue injured and sick animals. So I know if I impose too much, they can just quickly snap and uh, react, and that's absolutely fine. So I was just being, huh, like, what do I do now? So I just gently started touching him on the side and then gave him a few scratches, and he seemed to be quite comfortable. I could see the wound. It was like a deep cut inside, not wide, but just deep inside. Um, so after like maybe 5 or 7 minutes, I was like, okay, I felt confident enough to pick him up. So I picked him up, just put him in my car, told people who were coming that there's no need to come. The dog is quite okay with me handling him. So, and then took him to the vet. It took him about 3 to 4 weeks to recover. Um, and then what do we do, right? Unfortunately, had to drop him back. And then there is a police station over there. So locals did inform the police that, uh, just to keep an eye out. And there's a traffic police as well. And then 2 years later, I forgot about the dog. There's always so many dogs, right? You just move on to the next one. And I forgot about him, and I was passing that road again, and I saw him, and I said, "Oh, let me see, just stop by, and say hi." And I stopped, and he was just, I mean, it felt like he remembered. I don't know. Maybe he's just a happy dog who loves interacting with people, and he was just happy to see me. But it felt like such a strong connection in that moment, to see him again after a couple of years, that was quite special.
I tell
And there's
you,
so many such stories.
I I tell you, there are, we all have our stories, and that's so inspiring. It's so humane, to be honest. Coming back when you were talking about it, I wanted to understand, how do you balance emotional challenging of rescuing animals, with the practical work of
Uh,
rehabilitation?
I think you can't. I think that's people who say, "Oh, you can do that." I think they've either not um put their feet in deep waters, or they uh, they're just lying. I don't think it's possible to maintain like a emotional balance. Uh, Besides being aware of what triggers you are at, or where you are at in terms of your cup being full and you need to empty out emotionally. I think having strong ways to assess your emotional state is probably the best way. For me, I think the first few years were terrible. I think with a lot of people who get into this, uh, it feels like you have so much energy. It feels like burnout is something which happens to other people, not me. I can do that. I can manage that, or I can cope with that better than others. And surely enough, there's a time when you feel this is just hopeless, and no matter what you do is just not helping, and it just takes such a big toll that it puts you in a very negative state of mind. Um, and I think that can be avoided if somebody is better aware about what they're feeling. Having a strong social support also helps, having friends, because a lot of times what happens is that people don't really understand why you're doing it. So they're not able to connect with you, they're not able to uh, just hear you out, because they're not coming from a place where they can feel you or make sense of what you're saying. So you feel alienated. So having people who uh, can listen to you, can hear you out, is, I think, super important. Um, And for me, I feel I'm just a very happy person in general. I like comedy, I like making jokes, I like enjoying things, I like having fun. So my go-to strategy has been to wake up, watch an episode of Seinfeld, and before I go to sleep, watch an episode of Seinfeld. I think just watching something funny uh, resets my system where I can start do this all over again and again.
I think that's a very nice trick you've shared with a lot of people who would love. No, honestly, yes, I can. I can relate to the emotional burnout.
Mhm.
For me, I think I'm still new because it's been what, about 4 years. But for me, it's been more of my, I'll be very honest, it's more of my spiritual background that keeps me grounded and, keeps me focused on being very positive about everything. So that is something. And where you rightly said, you need a social circle where, your friends understand you, where you come from, and what you do. Because I don't think everybody understands why we do what we do. I think it is
I
the
don't think I fully understand why I do what I do, to be honest. So I
no,
think it's fair enough for other people to not understand
yeah,
us.
I'll tell you on this. I'll add something. For me, I believe it's my soul's calling, because
Mm,
that is what it is. I mean, the moment when I'll be honest, when I look through the eyes of these dogs, I can connect with them rather than with humans. Sometimes I can't connect with humans, to be honest. Certain humans I can't. But yes, with them, when you see through their eyes, you know what they're talking, what they want, what they need, because. And recently I was speaking to somebody. She said, Anil, you should do a course on animal communicating, even because that will help you understand them more. And I said, yes, that sounds, quite interesting. Uh,
that's a very touchy topic for me. It's something which I'm I'm a very staunch uh, very critical of it,
okay.
uh, because it's something which is extremely abused as a profession. It's like human psychics, right? There would be psychics would be like unbelievable. They can predict things which are so good and so accurate, and I know that those people have something in them, but that doesn't mean everybody has that ability to do that. And now when you can do a Coursera, weekend course online and claim to be a communicator, and the market is full of these people, and then they charge like an crazy amount.
I know. You
uh,
see, I'll tell you what. This where you touched. I can go into very deep about this. I know. Let's be honest. I don't want to use the term because we're on air. It's been commercialized very badly. I know that. Not. Let's be very honest. Like I can tell you, there are a lot of uh, spiritual people available. Who can connect. But in spirituality, it is very clearly stated, if you attain something within, don't misuse it.
mm,
So, people commercialize it. That's, I know it has become, uh, they've been playing with the emotions of the pet parents. Let's be honest
yeah,
about it. So,
yeah,
yes, I know we can go into that as well, but let's come back to where we are. Can
absolutely.
I understand, Kapil, what is the advice you would give to someone who wants to get into animal rescuing or being a volunteer?
um I think I think it's okay if you don't get fully into it. I think do as much as you feel that it's possible for you without feeling uh, guilty that you can't do more. I think that's super important to uh, be aware that you have limitations and there's only so much that you can do. And our job in animal welfare is not to control the life of the animals. We are there to support, guide, and when our human interventions have impacted their life, whether it is through car accident or something, then we can intervene and, of course, provide medical aid. But our job is not to micromanage their lives. Uh, and it's okay if all you can do is uh, donate a little bit of money to your local group, uh, and that's your contribution to animal welfare. That's absolutely fine. Some people find it very difficult to see animals in distress, and they can't do on ground volunteering, and that's absolutely fine as well, right? So just there's so many things that can be done, whether it is on social media by sharing, adoption appeals, or just connecting people together. How this podcast has come about, right? I mean, there's somebody can that we need more uh, awareness for sure. So for somebody who may not be comfortable with uh, helping sick and injured animals and then going through that process, removing maggots, it's not for everybody. So if that's something which you're not comfortable with at all, there are so many things that can be done. So it's just about finding what do you want to do, what do you feel like doing, uh, and what can you do to the best of your ability, right? I
Uh,
think that's more than enough.
Kapil, I think you've touched a very point that is too close to my heart. See, I've been on ground even, and I've been doing a lot of work on ground even. I've been, and as you rightly said, connecting with the people, doing your little bit. So for me, since I'm a branding and a marketing guy most of my life, so I realized uh, this is the way I can reach out to. And as I realized, I mean, over the period of last 4 years, I've realized, and especially in the last 2 years, I've realized, yes, there is a lot of, things which need to be done. But most importantly, what needs to be done is create an awareness within our societies and our communities, which needs to go very strongly. So
Yeah.
that is what made
And
me actually come up with the podcast thing, to be honest. And
And I think you're absolutely right when especially, I mean, you would understand it from a because you come from a branding and marketing perspective, right? I think we are branding our dogs incorrectly. I think we are marketing, the communication is not going right. I
right,
think a lot of times with our indies, it comes from a place of pity, or even adopting an indie is seen as a noble thing. And I think that's not something how the dogs would like other people to look at them as something as charity. They are these incredible animals. They are smart, they are beautiful, uh, they have such amazing lives. I think we need to admire them a lot more. We need to uh, cherish them. We need to share those stories a lot more.
I tell you, I can keep going on and on about this because in the last 4 years, uh, with the kind of work I have been connecting with these indies,
Mhm.
it has been a life changing moment for me, I'll be honest. Because
Mhm.
what I understand, what I am able to comprehend from this, it has been amazing. There is so much we can learn from them. Uh, you know, the challenges of life, what they face. If you look into it and see how they have been resilient enough, you know,
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
don't need sympathy. They need empathy from us. Let's
Yeah,
be honest
yeah,
about it. That's the
yeah,
most important aspect. Look at them; they survive out there. I mean, I know I've been talking to a lot of people now, and they all come up with the same. We all have the same point. That look at them. They survive on the streets by scavenging. They have to fight for. It's like, for us, when we wake up in the morning, we know there is food on the table for us. But for them, they don't. There is so much of
I
uncertainty.
I disagree with that. I don't
Okay,
think there is uncertainty. Uh, Especially in urban places, a lot of dogs that we have looked during our data collection and research,
okay,
they are not they are not uncertain of where food is coming from.
okay.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be so relaxed. They are so relaxed in their environments. They feel safe. They know food is coming.
I'll, I'll tell you, I don't know much about this because from what I have gathered from Pune is because,
Yeah.
the PMC and the PCMC have started taking away. What do you call, those garbages that from where these kids used to look. Apart from where we provide, that's a different story. But
Yeah.
the dogs that I see, the indies that I see on Pune, are absolutely running helter skelter, to be honest. So,
Yeah, I think
yes,
that the environment plays such a huge role, right?
yes.
Um,
So,
and I think that's something which needs to be looked at in terms of what environments are beneficial for the dog to be less dependent on humans. And
yes, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. Coming back to your journey, Kapil, how did you transition from animal rescuer to focusing on, the dog body language and research that you're doing?
um, I think there was this moment of time when I switched from the part where you said of sympathy to empathy. Uh, I think when I was rescuing, I was like, okay, yes, it was helping the animal, but I felt it was more about me feeling good about myself, about doing something, doing like the right thing or whatever that is. Uh, and then at one point, it felt like I'm not looking at them as much. I'm not seeing them. Uh, and they do these things which are like I'm very curious about. I like observing things, and I could see moments here and there where they're just doing something funny or they're just being very quirky, and I'm like, okay, why are they doing that? And then when that happened, I started being like, okay, I need to learn more about them. I need to know what a dog is, as simple as that. I've been put into the deep end of the swimming pool because of lockdown and crazy rescues and just things going haywire. But that doesn't mean I need to um, stop learning more about dogs and what a dog is. And then when that happened, I was like, okay, let me start my journey in terms of how dogs communicate, uh, how they resolve conflict, uh, how they ask for things, uh, how they use their different parts of bodies to send particular messages. Uh, and of course, the context. What is the context when that particular message is going on? There's so much. Uh, I mean, we feel they're simple animals, but there's quite a lot of nuances in how they go about their life. Uh,
Absolutely.
and just once you start observing them, you can't go back. I think once you start understanding what they're doing, what they're saying, it becomes like an addiction. um, and then you can't unsee it, right? Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start noticing those things more and more and more. I think this part, for me, has felt more satisfying than any of the adoptions or rescues that I've done in my life. I think just learning from them has made my life so much richer. Uh, and I just feel like I just admire them a lot more. And I think that's when the shift happened, maybe about 6 years ago. And then I started getting more into doing some behavior courses. I did uh, a 2.5 year diploma from Norway and a year long course from the US on applied ethology. So ethology is the study of an animal's behavior in the natural environment.
Okay.
So got more curious about how dogs in our environments, because uh, I mean, some do live in natural environments, but so much of it is now concrete and urbanized. So how does that impact their behavior, and how that changes from urban to rural, from mountains to beaches, from cultures, languages, religions. There's so much. India is such a diverse country, right? And of course, that affects how the dogs behave in that particular part of the country as well. So it's that I think that this whole thing is so fascinating to me that I think this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
I tell you, that is so interesting, because we could deep dive into this. But coming back, what are, for our listeners' purpose, what are the key signals or the key body languages that they should be, overlooking, which they overlook, tend to overlook?
Uh, I think more than overlook, they're
Aware.
just completely ignored. Yeah. Uh, I don't think they're seeing what is happening and they don't know what it is. I think they're just not even seeing what is happening. But very simple thing. So, uh, before even a dog growls or snarls or shows teeth, which is a very clear indicator that dog is unhappy, which people understand. There are these so many signals that a dog gives, uh, which are like a much lower level. So these signals include yawning, turning the head away, licking the nose. You see a lot of this
Yeah.
happening. And of course, context is important, right? If the dog is eating and doing that, then probably dog is just enjoying food. Or if the dog has just woken up from a nap and is yawning, then the context is different. But if the dog is just standing alert, awake, and gives out a yawn, probably means that the dog, whatever is going on in that situation, the dog is not comfortable with it. Uh, so there are these stress signals which people need to be aware about. Not all tail wags are happy tail wags. I think a lot of bites happen because they say that, oh, dog was wagging his tail, so you know that's why I touched his mouth. So uh, just having a better sense of uh, what these signs or signals mean uh, would go a long way. I think another common one which gets missed is a dog who is like curled up, makes himself smaller, and then sometimes the tendency uh, is to then go even further closer to the dog and try to touch the dog or scratch the dog. Uh, so I think just being aware about uh, these signs could go a long way in. And I think even beyond the science, right, just from philosophically, I think you should never approach a dog ever. Uh, you should always wait at a distance and then maybe whistle or try to call the dog or just say hi and just see if the dog wants to approach you. I think just giving that choice to the dog to make that decision will go a long way in avoiding any possible conflict or bites. So that's the rule I follow. I would never approach a dog.
I
Um,
think I think I've learned my lesson over the period of time. Instead, you what you rightly said, is like wait for them to approach to you rather than you forcing yourself upon them. I think that is what has made the difference, even to me. Kapil, coming back to our conversation, what are the common mistakes people have while interpreting, dogs' behavior, and how they can avoid them?
I think what usually happens is that we tend to escalate a situation when it's not needed, and this especially happens in people who are scared of dogs. So for those who are scared of dogs, when ideally they should be ignoring the dog, what tends to happen is they focus more on the dog. They keep making eye contact with the dog, and the more eye contact that we make, the dog is now thinking, "Oh, does this person want to engage with me?" But this person's body language is a bit unsure. So what is going on? The dog is now a bit alert as well. Uh, Maybe the dog stands up. Uh, Seeing a dog react to our focused gazing on the dog, we then and the dog has stood up, we then tend to be like, oh, is the dog gonna approach me? What is happening? We become more unsure. The dog sees that and is like, why is this person being so funny? What is going on? Maybe lets out a very short bark or something like that. uh, the person then misunderstands this as the dog is being aggressive and wants to attack me. So the immediate reaction is to pick up something, whatever is next to us, whether it is a stick or a stone. The dog sees us pick up the stick or the stone and is like, oh, is this person going to attack me? I'm gonna bark a lot more, I'm gonna growl a lot more, I'm gonna chase the person away from my territory. But the person sees this increase in vocalization as it's an immediate threat. I need to do something about it. I'm gonna throw the stone at the dog. Uh, or take the stick and bang it against the ground. And sometimes it ends over there. Sometimes the dog runs away and the person keeps walking or continues with the walk. The issue that happens is that when this keeps happening over and over and over again, where the dog then forms an association that a stick is something which is a weapon basically to cause harm, then one fine day an old person might just be walking with a stick as a walking stick, and the dog attacks, and it would feel like it's so unprovoked, right? The old man feel I haven't even done anything, I'm just walking. But because of so many past experiences where uh, the association has been so strongly built that a stick is bad, uh, that something like an unfortunate incident happens. And then you combine this where if there is not just one dog but three or four dogs, and then they come charging together, then it just becomes worse, right? So having that basic understanding of how we can just de-escalate a situation would solve so many of our problems. And
Yeah, please go ahead, please.
and that's just something which needs to be taught to people, uh, so that they feel more confident in dealing in such situations without escalating them.
I think, that is where it comes out. We need more of education and in terms of creating awareness on how to, approach these indies, because all we do is, let's be very honest, from my experience, all I have been hearing is, hey, we have a problem, we have a problem, we have a problem. But we are not even looking at the root cause of what has caused that problems.
Yeah.
And because I think we humans have become so superior that we don't even want to look at what has what is the reason for this entire episode that has come. All we do is वो हमारे ऊपर भौंकता है, वो हमारे को अटैक करता है, हमारे बच्चों को. But nobody is willing, because I have been dealing also with all this sort of situations, and I've realized nobody wants to really look into the root cause, कि क्यों
Yeah.
हो रहा है. आप लोग ये नहीं देखते हो कि आपका बच्चा वो पत्थर उठा के उसको मार रहा है for no reason. I mean, I will just explain to you a small situation where I've seen, the poor kid was just sleeping, in the afternoon. And this little kid is coming from the school, purposely goes and kicks him. I mean, for what? What has he done to you?
Yeah.
He's just having his nap. Why do you have to go and provoke him? And
Yeah.
then if something unforeseen happens, it's like उसने मेरे बच्चे को काटा.
Yeah.
So I tell you, this is it's such a pity.